This is basically a knife sharpener that I made last week. It was kind of intended to be an upgrade from what I had before. Now, I've had this grinder buffer motor from Grizzly for years and years, and when I bought this, I also bought the razor sharp edge making system that they sell. And what this is, if you haven't seen one, is it's basically their pressed paper, and it comes with grit glued onto this surface right here, and you cover it with beeswax, and that helps lubricate it when you're sharpening your knives. And you sharpen it on this side until you get a burr off the blade. Then you move to the other side, and it's for polishing, and you put a polishing compound on there, and then you run it and sharpen until you get the burr falls off. And it does make them razor sharp. It makes a really sharp knife. Now, one of the flaws to this was I didn't have any way of getting my angle correct. I would just hold the knife blade up to it and sharpen it, and it worked great. But as these wore out, I thought, well, I'll upgrade and make it so that I can get an exact angle, and I'll also make some new wheels. So this is a solution that I went to. And I bought this holder for the knife blade, and you put your knife in here like this, and then you lay it on this rail. You then I bought this gauge, and I'll link all this stuff in the description in case you're interested in it. You use this, you set it on the wheel, and it gives you an exact angle for your knife blade to sharpen it, and then you just move it back and forth and sharpen your blade, and that works great. There's a few things that I don't like about this. I'm actually going to take this apart and redo it completely, but we'll get to that here in a minute. Let's talk about these wheels for a second. Now, these are MDF, and there's a lot of people that make the MDF wheels, and I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. So I made these, and there's a couple of things that I don't like about them. One of them is inherent, I think, to the MDF, and that's that the grit doesn't stick to these like it does to the paper ones. I glued it on here. I've actually put grit on these twice. I have renewed these 3 different times. Actually, you just renew this one that's got the grit on it. I've renewed it 3 times without any trouble at all. But this one, I glued the grit on there, and I sharpened one knife and the grit was pretty much gone. So I cleaned it off, I put new grit on it and tried it again, and the grit's pretty much gone again. These, it stays on there much better, and I actually have a video on how to renew these in case you're interested in that. The other issue with these is that they're too big. These are 8 inches that I've used for years, and this, it would easily hold 10-inch wheels. It would actually hold probably a 12-inch wheel on there, and there were multiple people online that had made 10-inch wheels, and I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I didn't think about the surface speed. Once you get to a 10-inch wheel from that 8-inch, it increases the speed with which the outer edge moves by about 80%, and so it was very easy to burn the knife as you're trying to sharpen it. It could very well be that I was putting too much pressure on it, but that's the same pressure that I always used when I was sharpening on these. The issue is I don't like the big wheels, and the other thing is this thing is just huge, and so it takes up a ton of space. This is like 32 inches long, and it just takes up way more room than what I have available for it. So what I've done is I've bought a small grinder, and I have bought more of the paper wheels. Now, these are expensive. They're like 80 bucks or something like that, which is crazy because they're just pressed paper. But I bought an off-brand, I guess, and they're about half that price. I think they'll probably work just as well. I hope they do. So I've ordered a smaller motor. I've ordered the smaller wheels out of the paper, and I'm going to redo this to fit that. And I think it'll come in at like 2/3 or maybe half the size of this one. I should be much happier with that. So my first inclination was to just take this thing apart and do the other one and just never tell anybody that I made this one. But I thought, there were a few lessons to be learned here, so I thought I would do a video. Somebody might learn something from my mistakes. So I hope this was interesting to you. Thank you for watching.